3300 Intro to Bible and Theology. I'm so excited that you guys are here and that we're able to dive into this course together. I'm Professor Zachary Nance. I've been a part of the HCU faculty team, online faculty team, for a few years now. I graduated HCU back when it was HPSIC programs. The School of Christian Thought is wonderfully made up of caring, loving faculty and educators that are both for you and with you with all the material and walking you through everything they teach. And so I'm honored to join them in serving you guys, on the students, just on a little piece of your journey here. I think it's fantastic. I can't wait to get started. Um, so the syllabus officially describes this course as a course designed to introduce students to the study of the Bible and Christian theology, and with a particular focus on the overarching storyline of Scripture and Christianity's foundational doctrines. So it's actually, I read that pretty well. I took that down in my notes. So let me get back to my other notes. um, Hopefully put that to put that in more kind of a accessible way, right? Like this course will be like Christianity at 10,000 feet. So we're only touching on the big picture of the biblical story. C.S. Lewis once referred to this kind of understanding, right, as just a mere Christianity, a mere Christian understanding, just to try and understand the foundational doctrines, the foundation on which this whole faith rests upon. It's not dependent on understandings of tradition, of tertiary things like styles of worship or dress or anything like that. This is more the core confessions of what's being taught and what has historically been taught there from the very beginning. So it's not to trouble ourselves with the how this stuff is worked out, right? Which is really important. I think it's a great study, but ultimately gives us a little hope of understanding what this faith is really supposed to be all about. So, ideally, what we're going to try and do is return to the source, return to the foundation of what the Christian faith is built upon, and trying to discern our way through that in order to provide at least a foundation from which we can proceed. So all that tertiary stuff that comes later, well, let's start with the foundation, and it's almost like a tree trunk, right? If it's rooted in a solid trunk, well, then that branch is going to hold strong. If we put a lot of weight on that branch, it's likely to fall down. Um, so, so that first and foremost, I think we need to decide to study what Christians believe to be the divinely inspired text of the Bible and who this Bible speaks about, right? So what intro course wouldn't be complete without that as a required text? So I hope you guys have a Bible. It You can either have a hard copy. There's many digital copies out there, apps. It is literally the most accessible book um, in the world. So I hope you all have one handy. Um, if not, let me know. I can point you to some resources. There's countless resources. Most any translation will do for the purposes of this course. However, I would advise to sort of steer clear of paraphrases. In this case, like the Message or the Passion. These are these are paraphrases. These aren't necessarily the actual words that were written down and translated. These are paraphrases of ideas. So these can actually be less helpful and more confusing um, with this type of study at the end of the day. So something like a CSB, ESV, NIV, even NASB, those are all fantastic. So, and I said big picture earlier, and in a very real sense, this book of ancient antiquity, the Bible, is very simply put just a huge narrative story, a meta narrative story, if you want to put it that way. It spans from the creation of everything until the ultimate redemption of everything, redemption of this world. There's this one pesky thing that happens quite close to the beginning of the story. Um, some of you might know it's the introduction of sin. So this can be did creation to function, and it has some dire consequences. So throughout this biblical story, is God who's the main focus of the story, not us. He's stepping in to rescue a creation that departed from him, to restore this intentionality upon creation that was lost, right? So, anyways, we'll explore a lot more of that throughout the course. The other texts we have are Simply Christian by N.T. Wright. It's a fantastic little book, a great primer text that begins to kind of orient our understanding toward why the God of the Bible does what he does in the face of this separation from the way things were intended to be or the way things ought to be. So N.T. Wright kind of uses a phrase, putting things to rights, right? Putting things rightly back as it should be. Then we'll also be reading through fantastic uh, text that summarizes a lot of big ideas called Engaging Theology. I have it right here. That's the only reason I'm fumbling with stuff. It's actually written by two HCU faculty. It's wonderfully done, and it brings all of these kind of lofty theological things down from an academic tower, and in my opinion, makes them a ton more accessible for us to sort of engage with in our daily lives, as well as puts them in the context of certain detractors to show distinctions unique to the historic Christian faith, and maybe there's a couple mentions of like where it's compared to the Islamic faith or compared to the Mormons or compared to Jehovah's Witness, and so you'll get a little bit of that contrasting in there, which is really helpful. So to be honest with you, there's a ton of material that we've just tried to condense down into this course. So it might almost feel like trying to drink from a fire hose at times, but please don't let that be discouraging or cause you to disengage from it or take it easy on some of the study. Because personally, I think this content can be not only super interesting, but extremely fun to study once you kind of get into all the nitty gritty of it. So this course, excuse me, tried to break it down in the kind of easy to dissect chunks, right? So most of the content is spread out between the three texts that we have. So the Bible, Simply Christian, Engaging Theology, and we keep these assignments manageable through discussion boards and a couple of group projects, actually. So you guys will be working together. I'll assign some groups later on, and you guys will have some presentations to put together. It's difficult at times to teach, and for those that are gifted to do this, to preach this type of material, especially like in a Western setting, like we find ourselves in the US, because most people come to material like this with baggage, some sort of pre-constructed framework of what Christianity is and what it teaches. It's simply based on the environment they grew up in and maybe the people they had around them. So they already have these notions, right? These preformed thoughts and opinions and beliefs about what it says, what Christianity is really all about. But sometimes we have to question that by going back to the source, right? So I do encourage you guys to try and leave as much as you can at the door, and really just sit in the foundation of what we're going to look at here. So all that's to say, we'll get to and explore the biblical narrative, and I'll leave it open to y'all to draw conclusions from it, and that's for our discussion boards and sort of our communal back and forth, our writings throughout the course. I want to leave as much room as I can for you guys to explore all these concepts with each other and to interact with these online discussion boards and the group projects, because they're kind of simulations of in-person stuff, but this is what we can do online, right? So I don't want to make this video any longer than it has to be for an intro video. So let me get to some housekeeping stuff. Please be sure to explore the contents in Blackboard. It's all listed there on the, I don't know, I'm going to show up right up. It's on the left side of your Blackboard thing, right? All the content's already preloaded, so you can engage with it as you feel comfortable, as much or as little as you want to. Well, little is going to affect your grade. As much as you want to, just please be cognizant of due dates, and please don't try and take on too much. Um, because you're gonna. I just don't want you to jam yourselves up and feel like you're burned out or overdoing something. So make a plan. Like I said before, be sure rest is part of that plan. Even with all this coursework and all the other stuff you have in life, one thing I've found as the years have gone by, that if there's not an intentionality to rest, you'll find yourself busy all the time. You have to stop sometimes. And sometimes you just have to schedule it. So, time management is a big thing, especially when all this reading and writing comes into play. And if you have jobs and um, families and other obligations, right? Just make a plan and be sure you're consistent with it. There's no um, within the course, there's no hard and fast kind of formatting requirements to the writings here. I think Turabian is the most preferred, but within a quick discussion board that's very conversational, it might be a little harder to do that. But something I will ask of you guys, because I'll be considering this as part of your grade, and I'll probably touch on this week after week just to remind you guys. Um, Make it a part of your formal response to the promptings. Please be sure to cite whatever source you're getting your information from, to cite or quote from whatever text you're using to form these uh, comments, to form these uh, thoughts, these reflections. This can either be done as a footnote, or I think that's probably the most straightforward for Turabian. Just footnote that kind of stuff. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, that's simply um, I think there's a guide loaded on here, but it's simply something of quoting or citing a specific passage in a text, putting a footnote, which is a superscript number, and then footnoting the actual text that you got it from. All right. And if you go to something like EasyBib or something, it's really super quick to get that stuff knocked out. The reason for this, excuse me, is just to try and keep things out of the realm of opinion and personal thought too much, right? I do want you guys to reflect on the text, but uh, I don't want you guys to sort of just completely take it out of context and write whatever your brain comes up with, or whatever you feel like you want to write that day. So it takes it out of the realm of context and grounds it more in the text that we're going through, and because we all have access to the same material. So the text that you're citing, if you're citing it properly, a reader or somebody who's engaging with you will have the opportunity to go and read what you're pulling your information from, which really only strengthens the case you're trying to make, right? So academically, that's why it's so important, is because we want to see the rigor that goes into the claims that you make. And if that's backed up, amen. It's wonderful. It really just strengthens everything. So we can all engage in that material better, right? But with that being said, I want you guys to feel free to bring questions and reflections to the table, and in the discussion boards as well, as it relates to the material. So don't hold back from responding to each other or engaging with each other. If there's anything else, feel free to email me directly. I'm always here, kind of in the background, operating in the background. I'll try and engage in the discussion boards as well, but there's also some other stuff I got going on behind the scenes, uh, grading and upkeeping Blackboard and emails and all that good stuff, aside from full-time other jobs. So if you need more info about me or how to contact me, either in your Outlook emails, just search for my name, or there's a tab over in the left side, wherever it is, that says about your professor. It's going to have some information in there. Um, yeah, with all that said, I wish you guys the best over the next 8 weeks. I'm so glad to be here. I'm here to answer any questions and guide you guys the best way possible, or best way I can. I guess not best way possible. If if you have anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me anytime. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I'm able. Um, and I have some office hours listed. I'll try and stick to that as best I can. If not, I, I I humbly ask you guys your grace for some of that. But I will return emails as requested. Finally, I want you guys to know that I'm praying for you guys, each and every one of you. If you're currently a follower of Christ and are here to learn and deepen your understanding of the Christian faith, I pray that this is just a stepping stone towards being able to grow deeper in your faith and knowledge of God. Or at the very least, reaffirm groundings and convictions of this sort of mere Christian understanding. Ultimately, my hope and my prayer is that this would lead to more intimate worship of the Lord. If you're here and you're just here for the academic work, you're not currently a follower of Christ, or haven't felt the active presence of the Lord in your life, that's fine. I'm so thankful you're here as well. I absolutely pray that you would at least be explorative to the ideas and open to the ideas that we're about to study together. And then ultimately, that would lead to a deeper consideration and acceptance of the claim that the Christian God makes in the Christian scriptures. Again, I'm pumped. I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to be a part of this course with you. So let me say again, welcome. Please remember, just pace yourselves, and most of all, have fun. Because where would we be without a little of that, right? Um, yeah, I'll see you guys throughout the week. I'll do welcome videos every week, or not welcome videos, announcement videos every week. So every Monday, and I'll just be engaging throughout the week. So all right, see you guys.